The Maryland House and Senate each passed new juvenile crime legislation. We'll take a closer look at what comes next. As car thefts continue in Baltimore City, arrests aren't keeping up. Why it's hard for law enforcement to get criminals off the streets. And the new Harbor Place is one step closer to fruition. How residents are feeling about the revamp.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
The Maryland House and Senate have both passed their own plans to tackle juvenile crime. The Senate's bill passed with bipartisan support in a late-night session, but Republicans say they are not completely satisfied. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Mary Bubala. Now that both chambers have passed versions of this legislation, the question looming in lawmakers' minds, what comes next? Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost is tracking these proposals, and Annapolis has more on the new timeline.
We know some of the differences between the House and the Senate version really center around what to do with kids between the ages of 10 and 12. And now I'm told finding a compromise solution could happen sooner rather than later.
Has everyone recorded their vote?
The day after passing one of the biggest priorities this session,
Long day, good day. We got through a lot of stuff,
Senate President Bill Ferguson outlining the next steps for how Maryland lawmakers plan to tackle juvenile crime.
It will probably be soon after crossover. We want to kind of dispose of this issue and move forward as urgently and thoughtfully as possible.
Crossover day, March 18th, meaning if a bill has not made it to the other chamber by this deadline, it's likely dead. Getting to the bottom of what plan will prevail remains an uphill battle. Right now, the House allows kids between 10 and 12 years old to be taken to a diversionary program the first time they're arrested for stealing a car or possessing a gun. The Senate, however, gives the Department of Juvenile Services the chance to deal with kids with guns, even that young, right away. But for young car thieves in the Senate version, they would go through the Child in Need of Supervision or SINS petition process. SINS petitions are court-ordered programs.
I have actually become increasingly focused on the SINS process as a viable mechanism for impacting young people in a really significant way.
Does it concern you that the House's version also includes the carve-out for kids with handguns in the diversion process?
I believe our product is more appropriate.
Senate President Bill Ferguson not indicating if he's going to allow a bill like the House's plan to move forward. Right now, bipartisan support for both plans growing, even if some Republicans don't think the bill goes far enough. Senate Minority Leader Steve Hershey voting for the bill Monday night.
Again, this is a step, but it's certainly not a leap. We have a lot more work to do when it comes to public safety.
One of the two state senators voting against the plan, Senator Jill Carter from Baltimore City, Tuesday morning telling Fox 45 News she doesn't believe the bill is even necessary.
And so much of this is a response to perception and not reality, not factual based.
But for the people who have had their cars stolen by kids,
just stop doing it,
have been attacked by juveniles,
I could have lost my son that night. It just doesn't make any sense.
Or even parents who have all but begged lawmakers to help them hold their young kids accountable, these proposed changes to the juvenile justice system are welcomed. Despite what we've heard before, it does sound like this proposal will end up in a conference committee. After that, the amendments would have to be adopted and another round of votes in both the House and the Senate, and only then would this plan be on the way to Governor Westmore's desk. In the State House, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
As car thefts continue to skyrocket across the city, a shockingly low number of these crimes are being solved. In 2023, BPD recorded more than 11,000 car thefts citywide. That's 30 cars stolen every day, or more than one every hour. At a press conference addressing the rise in crime last November, BPD announced nearly 700 auto theft arrests. At the time, more than 9,000 cars had been stolen. Former Deputy Commissioner Jason Johnson says it's a difficult crime to solve.
Generally speaking, I would say that these drivers who've stolen a vehicle or are in a possession of a stolen vehicle just simply flee from the police, and that's the end of it. No matter how one feels about the BPD's pursuit policy, it does allow offenses like stolen vehicles to just drive away and not pull over and be apprehended.
Johnson also says a lack of accountability is likely what's driving soaring crime rates, and legal experts say that even when arrests are made, convictions are hard to come by. Lawmakers are introducing a new bill to crack down on drug dealers. The bill creates a new crime for distribution of heroin or fentanyl that results in death. The bill is named after two people who died of fentanyl overdoses. Family members spoke when the bill was introduced today. One of the family members says his son bought what he thought was cocaine, but there was fentanyl in it. He died as a result.
I do know Victoria's got this law in place. This dealer would be in jail and not be able to harm anyone else's loved ones. Please vote yes, not only for my family, but for every Marylander.
Well, a Senate committee is having a hearing on that bill right now. We'll have more tonight on Fox 45 News at 10. We'll also keep you updated on our website, foxbaltimore.com. The jury in the trial for Elliot Knox, the man accused of murdering BPD officer Keona Hawley and civilian Justin Johnson, has yet to return a verdict. Today was the first full day of deliberations. The jury began discussing the case yesterday afternoon. Knox is charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit, and 4 firearm offenses. Throughout the trial, the state presented the jury with 80 pieces of evidence and called 18 witnesses to the stand. The defense did not call any witnesses, and Knox did not take the stand in his own defense. The jury will continue deliberating tomorrow morning.
This bill passed with a vote of 14-1. Please note that Councilman Dorsey is the only no vote. This bill is approved.
The plan to redevelop Harbor Place is one step closer to reality. The City Council approved 3 bills last night, paving the way for the project. The mayor is now expected to sign off on the charter amendment, meaning it will go to voters in November. The trio of bills are set to overhaul a struggling Harbor Place. The $500 million project, led by developer P. David Bramble of MCB Real Estate, is expected to have a mix of retail, residential, and public space. People we spoke with today are supportive of the plan.
I came down here today for that sense of nostalgia. I do wish that we had more places to go right now, so I'm looking forward to whatever revitalization that we can have. It's needed. I'm looking forward to it.
I definitely would like to see it livened up a lot more.
There is opposition to the plan, though, especially when it comes to the potential housing units. A group called the Inner Harbor Coalition tells Fox 45 News it agrees the space needs upgrades, but they feel the current proposal is not the right fit for Baltimore City.
We are following breaking news tonight out of the Middle East. The United States conducted another airdrop of humanitarian assistance into Gaza. The operation followed a first round of airdrops on Saturday. It comes as the U.S. continues to work on negotiating a temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, with the Palestinian death toll growing in Gaza. White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby says the airdrops are part of a sustained effort with international partners to scale up the amount of aid getting into Gaza.
3 U.S. C-130s dropped 60 bundles with a total of more than 36,000 meals ready to eat. We were joined in this endeavor by several Jordanian aircraft as well.
The United States is exploring other channels to get aid in as well, including both commercial and military options to move assistance by sea. This is a developing story. Stay with Fox 45 News for the latest updates on air and online. Mary?
Guy, thanks. After a few days of spring-like weather, today may have rained on your parade. Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali joins us now. Gerard, this is a good day, though, for the flowers that are coming up. You've been talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, they need a nice big drink of water to start popping up. All the little stems on the ends of the trees, I've really looked hard on my way in today. And if they're not popping open yet, they are going to soon. And they need the rainfall in order to make that happen. As the old saying goes, April showers, while we're in March, bring May flowers. So we're getting our springtime rainfall that we need, but you know, it'd be nice to get outside and have some weather that we can enjoy this. It's just gonna be tough to find here in the next 5 days. Let's go through what we have coming. It's 53 right now, lots of clouds. The rain was around all morning long, of course, but it has now moved out. We're not going to see any more tonight. As we head through your Wednesday, though, expect to see more as our next storm system, here it is, just to our south and west. We've got more of that coming and it's going to be a messy Wednesday for you. But in the meantime, at least we can enjoy some dry time for just this evening. It's a little bit on the cool side in the 50s, but we'll drop down the upper 40s to mid 40s overnight. Some patchy fog will be possible, but we are again going to go over the rain chances, not just for tomorrow, but what we have coming for this weekend, before we're going to finally talk about spring-like weather. And yes, we might get the full package, some warmer temperatures and some sunshine. We're going to talk about that a lot more coming up in just a little bit, Mary.
It's the biggest day in the presidential primary, but the general election is already in full swing. I'm Atra El-Nashar with what voters are saying on this Super Tuesday.
President Biden optimistic about a potential rematch with Donald Trump in November. Why? He says the polls are swinging in his favor. Well, this Super Tuesday is unlike any other, with both major parties all but decided on who their presidential nominee will be. President Biden and former President Trump are already looking ahead to the general election. Sinclair national correspondent Atra El-Nashar joins us live on Capitol Hill with a closer look at the race tonight on this Super Tuesday. Good evening, Atra.
Hey, Mary. Yeah, polls released in the last few days are giving us an early sense of where voters stand. And with two unpopular candidates in Biden and Trump, each campaign is facing some serious headwinds.
Democrats and Republicans lining up behind their respective candidates in what's essentially an early start to the general election. Polls out this week giving Democrats reason to be nervous about this rematch of 2020. In a New York Times Siena College poll, among voters who supported Biden in 2020, just 83% said they would vote for him again versus Trump if the election were held today, compared to 97% of Trump's 2020 supporters who say they'd vote for him again. Concerns about Biden's age and low approval on top issues like immigration and the economy, putting his supporters on the defensive.
What matters is how people vote, and we have consistently, as Democrats, overperformed polls.
I think Joe Biden has demonstrated that he'll beat Donald Trump, and he's going to beat him again.
In a memo this week, Doug Sosnick, political strategist and former advisor to President Clinton, puts public sentiment at the top of a list of challenges for Biden. He points to NBC polls showing a majority of voters think the country is headed in the wrong direction and don't feel confident their children's lives will be better than their own. Sosnick writes, not surprisingly, these attitudes have led the electorate to vote against whoever is in power in 10 out of the last 12 elections. In many ways, 2024 doesn't look like other elections.
This is really what our country's all about. We're going to bring it back.
There's a contingent of Americans known as double haters, voters who have negative views of Biden and Trump. The New York Times estimates they make up 19% of the electorate. Trump facing dozens of criminal accusations. According to the Times, 53% of registered voters think Trump has committed serious federal crimes. Among Trump supporters, 21% think he's committed crimes, but still plan to vote for him.
Now, as is true in any presidential election, both candidates are going to have to find a way to appeal to moderate swing voters. And for President Biden, his State of the Union speech on Thursday is expected to be his biggest opportunity to revive public opinion.
And of course, Audra, sealing a presidential nomination, all about accumulating those delegates. What's the math looking like tonight?
Yeah, well, on the Republican side tonight, there are 865 delegates up for grabs among 15 states, and those 865 account for more than a third of the Republican Party's delegates throughout this primary process. But remember, a candidate needs 1,215 to seal the deal and get the GOP nomination. Trump's heading into tonight already with 273 compared to Nikki Haley's 43. And unfortunately for her, the states where she's expected to perform the best tonight are essentially winner-take-all contests, like California, where there's a more moderate Republican base. The same is true in Virginia. And Virginia has an open primary, meaning she could get support from independents or Democrats who don't want to see that 2020 rematch.
Interesting. We'll be watching Audra El-Nashar live on Capitol Hill tonight. Thank you. Well, President Biden waving off concerns about his polling numbers ahead of a potential rematch with Donald Trump in November.
My poll numbers, the last 5 polls you guys don't report, I'm winning 5 in a row.
Well, speaking to a gaggle of reporters at a Maryland airport, Biden says he'd beat former President Trump in the matchup. It's unclear what polls Biden is referencing. According to CNN, there's no clear leader in the race. Trump sits at 48% support. Biden sits at 46% in the latest average.
All right, we're tracking a lot of weather makers this week. We just got rid of one. We had one earlier this week, and now we're going to talk about the next 2. Right now, we've got a break, and we're looking over here towards West Baltimore. It's a nice-looking evening. If we could just get a little bit of sunshine. You know, we had a great sunset last night as a result of the storm system we had today. The clouds were moved overhead, so if you saw that sunset, that was actually one little treat that we got. Thankful to a storm system to bring us a pretty picture. We're in the 50s now. We are not seeing as much of a prettier picture, at least in the clouds, but it looks better on the radar here. We're not seeing it falling as the system continues to pull away. It is continuing to douse New England and the Northeast, everywhere from New York to Boston, all the way up to Maine with all the rainfall that we got this morning. And we're in a break between systems. You might have already noticed that one back to the west here. And here's what's going to happen. This unsettled pattern is just a train of systems here. So we just had another one pass through. Here comes the next one. We've got a brief break as we move through your early, or say tonight, but Wednesday morning, we may have it just a brief shower, and then it's just going to pick up as we move into the afternoon with more showers likely, and that's going to continue into your Wednesday night and even a bit into your Thursday morning, but it's going to be a little more tapered by that point. All right. Friday's the only day I can say looks dry right now. But as we head into the weekend, of course, we're still talking about the next system, even beyond this one. That's our Saturday weekend rain event, and it could linger into your Sunday as well. So your rain chances set up kind of like this. Wednesday, it looks pretty much a guarantee, especially in the middle to latter part of the day. Thursday may linger a bit into your morning. Friday, we're keeping dry. There's Saturday's chance, pretty scattered. I may be bumping this up if the data tonight shows it to be as big of a storm system as it's showing, to be more widespread. And then Sunday, it starts to taper off just a little bit. It will be cooler and breezier. But here's the good news. Going into the weekend and beyond, we're going to start to see some changes in our pattern here. Now, we've been above average. It doesn't quite feel it, but our average is around 50 degrees. We've been in the mid-50s, and we'll continue to see those temperatures slowly dwindling down until around Monday, when we're finally below average, most likely here. But it's not going to last for long at all. In fact, we are expecting the next 6 to 10 days, that's next week, to be much warmer than average. We're going to talk about this, and we'll have the numbers for you in your 10-day forecast in just a little bit.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
How deep is the snow in the mountains of northeastern Utah? Enough to make this moose struggle to get up a hill. The sunrise view from Big Bald Mountain along the Tennessee-North Carolina border shows undercast, where the clouds are below the viewpoint and mountain peaks look like islands. While sunrise over Reno following the winter storm gives us this tremendous view.
Listen to Off the Radar. New episodes every Tuesday. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
An effort to cut down on organized crime throughout the state. How city and county leaders are teaming up to keep residents safe. And now you can watch Fox 45 News for free anytime on Amazon Fire TV or Samsung TV Plus. For months, we've been keeping you informed about the growing number of car thefts across the state. Well, now there's a new effort to cut down on this kind of organized crime. Brad Bell from our Sinclair sister station in D.C. has details from Annapolis.
As carjacking and auto theft numbers have soared over the last few years, prosecutors in the two most impacted jurisdictions, Baltimore City and Prince George's County, say they have seen trends. Much of the crime, they say, is being done by juveniles in groups, often at the direction of others.
Almost none of these crimes are done by one individual.
So what you're seeing is the adults are preying on the juveniles and have the juveniles there as well as part of the larger overall crew. Those individuals that are running around carjacking in groups 3, 4, 5 cars a night, and they ride around carjacking citizens, taking the cars then down to a chop shop.
And that, they say, is the definition of organized crime. And yet, State's Attorneys Ivan Bates of Baltimore and Aisha Braveboy of Prince George's say current law doesn't allow them to go after those who may be behind a carjacking but didn't actually hold the gun and do the crime. And so they're in Annapolis together lobbying for a bill which would expand definitions of organized crime to include, for instance, street gangs who steal cars and allow for tougher penalties for those involved.
We believe that this will provide a great deterrent for individuals who may choose to work in concert with others to wreak havoc throughout our state.
A similar bill failed in the legislature last year, but now Braveboy and Bates believe the senators and delegates have heard from enough constituents who want something done to protect their cars and themselves.
We think that perhaps the legislature will be maybe more open to it because now they understand that the prosecutors need more tools.
Brad Bell, Fox 45 News.
Okay, here we go, talking about your 10-day forecast, and there's some good news, some light at the end of the tunnel. We've got to get through the tunnel first, and that means that we have some rain showers to talk about for tomorrow, likely through your afternoon, and they could linger a bit into your Thursday. I'm going to say we're dry on Friday, but here comes another storm system to impact just as the weekend begins, so scattered showers likely on Saturday, lingering into Sunday. But look at the good news coming after we get through Monday's chillier temperatures. We're back to the 60s Tuesday. We're even talking about upper 60s in the middle to latter part of next week, and we may be able to dodge the rain for a change.
Gerard, thank you. Well, finally tonight, Taylor Swift is taking to Instagram to encourage fans to vote on this Super Tuesday. Swift telling followers to head to the poll sites with presidential primaries underway in 16 states and 1 territory. Last year, vote.org saw a surge in registrations after Swift encouraged her fans to register to vote. She has that kind of power. Well, that's all for Fox 45 News at 6. Family Feud's next. We'll see you back here for the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.